very warm welcome to Gaming News Weekly, your weekly news show every Friday at 5 p.m. with your hosts, me, I'm Rich, and my good friend, Tabs. Say hello, Tabs.
Hello.
Excellent. So we'll, as we always do, we will always have three what we think are juicy stories or interesting things to talk about in depth, should I say? And then we'll have everything else at the end. But before we get into that, we talk as we do every single week about what we've been playing this week. And in the recent weeks, that's basically been a 10-minute conversation about Death Stranding, but we will try and contain it a little bit this week. So, Tabs, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, as you've kind of forecast there, mate, just a bit of Death Stranding, which was actually with you.
It was.
So we screen shared, you watched me play. Mm-hmm. You know, because it had been so long, I was getting to grips with the controls again, making some mistakes. I almost blemished my nearly perfect, awesome record because I was talking to you, I wasn't concentrating, so I save scummed and we went back in time and I redid that delivery. So, no, but it was good. It was nice to touch base on it again, and I do still want to play it. It's just, as you're well aware, at the minute there's so much going on that I just haven't got the time, and when I do have a little bit of time, I then haven't got the energy to really like sit down with a video game and get into it. So that's that. I mean, we'll come across to you. Actually, we'll come across to you first, but we did, just to change the tone a bit, we couldn't feature it in the news this week because it was just too last minute, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Elden Ring, which I think is going to be very much a game personally for our radars. And thought it was worth just having a word or two on that. But what have you been playing, mate?
So yeah, more Death Stranding for me, continuing my playthrough. I think I'm into Act... I actually don't know what Act I'm in. I'm into...
Act Mountain.
Yeah, so I'm heading up into the mountains, basically. My least favourite bit of the entire game. I think that's pretty much my next mission, but I don't know whether to... I'd like to get a few more roads built. At the moment, I've got some road... most of the roads built, but I would also like to get the road built that goes up to the mountain, from both sides. So I might work on that for a little bit. But that's pretty much what we're playing. Really enjoying playing the game. Such a beautiful, fun game to play, for me anyway. So really been enjoying that. But yes, Tabs, let's talk Elden Ring. Unfortunately, I've actually got back from work quite late today. I'm off tomorrow, so that meant everything was condensed at work and I had to stay late. So I haven't seen this. So over to you, Tabs. So to tell us all about it.
Yeah, so basically I just watched a watch along with Yong Ye, and it was like a 15-minute gameplay reveal. It was a really cool trailer actually, because it wasn't too in your face and like shouting everything at you. It was quite chill and laid back, and the delivery even of the narration was really cool. But in a nutshell, mate, it looks like, I mean, Yong was saying like Skyrim meets Demon Souls. But also, you could even say a bit like Breath of the Wild meets Demon Souls. So you've got this open world. They've got some traversal kind of quality of life features in there to almost replace maybe things like the glider, the climbing in Breath of the Wild. I mean, even though it's an old gen sort of engine, because they're straddling all sorts of different platforms, the art design really makes it stand out, and it still has a striking beauty. And there's some great little things like spells that seem to be much more of a focus in this experience, and a lot of different spells. I would almost say they feel almost like Harry Potter style spells. So you can call on spirits to help you in battle, and then you've got all these, I think they showed 4 or 5 different spells with quite different effects in the trailer. And then, it's just this big open world where you've got bosses at different points. You've got your standard enemies. There seems to be side quests. It's very much got that Demon Souls sort of character vibe and atmosphere to it. And but importantly, it has that multiplayer element as well, like a Demon Souls game. So it looks like we're going to be able to join each other to help each other cooperatively. There's going to be PvP as well. And I think they also mentioned invasions. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a shame. But they also mentioned invasions, which I don't know if they elaborated on. So in a nutshell, mate, I think it's definitely going to be a game for us that we can play together and really love. And I'm just super excited about it. I think, if any BArcadians out there like what they hear, I've tried to give the best account I can there, then really go and check that gameplay slice out. And
And when you say like it's cooperative, as in much the same as Demon's Souls, so you can call me into your world and we're playing in the same world?
Yeah, that's it. They're like the characters are different sort of colour or a shade.
Yes. Yeah.
To kind of suggest that they're crossing that.
Very similar.
Yeah, very similar. I don't think it's going to be. I don't know how it'll work because it's an open world game and potentially seamless. So, are you going to be cut off from at certain points? Is there going to be a time limit? I don't know, but certainly that's I think this game's way of kind of introducing not an easy mode, but just scaling the difficulty a bit so you can call in a friend for help.
And it's fun to play together as well.
Exactly. And just a word on, there's a big map. That's what definitely made me think Breath of the Wild when they brought that up. But there's quite a lot of different locales, biomes, if you like, ranging from this massive castle, almost looked like the big Ganon castle in Breath of the Wild. And then you can go underground into like catacombs and tombs that have their own atmosphere and vibe. And then obviously you've got these kind of overworld biomes of different kinds as well. There's so much variety there. And if this trailer was just a hint at the depth, which hopefully will be in the main game, I think that's always the concern with an open world game, that it can maintain that kind of density throughout the experience. Then I'm really excited. But mate, that's enough blathering. We need to move on, don't we?
Absolutely. I'm going to look forward to checking that out. I'll check that out right after the news. Look forward to that. Right, let's get into the news without further ado. So first up, we have got Forza Horizon 5 review roundup. Currently, it's at a eye-watering Metacritic of 91, and this is what GameSpot had to say about it, who gave it a 90. Forza Horizon 5 is another meaningful evolution of the series as opposed to a reinvention, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a case of more of the same. Even when it's familiar, Forza Horizon 5 makes small but thoughtful changes to its established blueprint that hones in on the people behind the cars in a way that the franchise has previously just glossed over. It's not going to convince you to give it a go if Forza Horizon's brand of racing hasn't done it for you in the past. But Forza Horizon 5 still stands head and shoulders above anything else in the genre, so that's really positive stuff, really exciting. Do you want to do the next one, Tabs?
Yeah, mate, Playground Games not messing about, it seems. So IGN had this to say. They gave it 100 or 10 out of 10, translated to the Metacritic scale. So Forza Horizon 5 is a deep and nuanced carnivana for rev heads and auto geeks to endlessly collect, tinker and experiment. It's also an extremely accessible buffet of racing. I've lost where I am. Spectacle, open to everyone. From deluxe edition diehards to Game Pass nomads, no matter their driving skill or mechanical knowledge. It's an occasionally goofy but always earnest Valentine to Mexico's world-famous culture and a romantic ode to the magic of road tripping through postcard-perfect vacation vistas. It's a long-haul, MMO-inspired racer that's exploding with races, activities and event types that can comfortably fit on some parts of the map. And yet it still always feels relaxed rather than daunting. It never locks you into something you don't want to do and steadily rewards you for however you choose to play it. It looks beautiful, it sounds magnificent, and it is glorious to play. Yes, Forza Horizon 5 is a lot of things. Above all, however, it is the result of a racing studio at the peak of its craft and the best open world racing game I've ever played. Amazing.
Wow, unbelievable. Destructoid gave it an 85, and they had this to say. It would be foolish of me to say that Horizon 5 is the best game in the series given my very limited knowledge of its history. However, I can say with confidence this is the most fun I've had with a racing game that doesn't involve a plumber and a princess. There is just so much to do and so much to see that I can easily lose hours of my day exploring it all it has to offer. And with continued support from the developers and the community, I'll have no reason to stop playing anytime soon. Wow. I mean, this game has gone down very, very well. We already knew that it looked incredible from all of the screenshots and everything we've seen. There's some really cool weather dynamics and different environment dynamics going on, which is incredible. But to see that the gameplay is a nice step on what we've seen before, which, you know, I've played quite a bit of Horizon 4 and thought that was really good. So if they've improved on that, it's going to be very, very fun to play. So I'm excited to see this one. Tabs asked me earlier whether I was going to get this. Be honest, I'm not sure. Mainly because I just don't know how. I'm just struggling for time at the moment. And it's like, I'd really like to play this game, but I'd be like one race here, one race there. And I don't know. I don't know whether that would do the game justice. So we'll see. Tabs, over to you.
Yeah, I think it sounds fantastic. I said to you before we started filming, it's made me consider getting Game Pass for the PC, just so I can play it, amongst other games as well, Psychonauts 2, chief amongst. But yeah, I mean, it's turned my head, and hearing all this high praise always makes me think, maybe I should look to try and get in on that somewhere, not miss out, because you never know if you're going to return to these things.
To be fair,
regardless, go on.
I do think it's important that you spend a bit of time on a racing game, and then there's a proper head-to-head Tabs versus Rich on a racing game to see who is the Grandmaster.
Always likes to lord it over me with his skills, BArcadian.
Well, I mean, I could hammer Mario Kart and be really good at it, and Tabs be like, I've not played it for 6 months, and then just beat me. So there's something in there. I think Tabs is a better racer than he has led me to believe. So I would like to see that. But anyway, carry on, Tabs.
Yeah, no, I think just to end on, I think whatever, even if you don't play it, mate, it's great for the racing game genre of video games. They've hit obviously a real stride with this magnum opus, at least up to date. And obviously GT7 just around the corner. This definitely sets a benchmark to say, right then, Polyphony Digital, let's see what you can do. You know, this is a challenge to them, and it's that sort of competition which leads to brilliant games. So it's great.
I guess that's the thing, and I don't know why, but like if Gran Turismo 7 came out tomorrow, I would make time to play that. Whereas Horizon 5, I'm like, I would like to play that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to make time to play that, if that makes sense.
It's not got the purity of a racing sim for you, I don't think.
I think that's it. That's definitely. I like it. I really enjoy playing it. I love racecraft on a racing circuit. But anyway, should we move on?
Let's do, mate. So Red Dead Remaster is the next story, and this comes by way of Games Radar. They had this to say: a Red Dead Redemption remaster is reportedly in the works for PC and consoles. Platforms aren't specified by the outlet, but Rockstar Magazine specifies not to expect a complete remake of Red Dead Redemption for this new remaster, but rather a visual overhaul and upgrade, as with Rockstar's forthcoming GTA Remastered trilogy. Elsewhere in the same report, Rockstar Magazine claims things aren't looking so good for the oft-rumoured GTA 6. The outlet claims that after studio co-founder Dan Houser's departure back in early 2020, the game has effectively had to restart development and is currently in a messy state. GTA 6 is a rumour that's been long gestating for the video game industry at large, with numerous reports claiming various details about the unannounced game over the last 2 years. So lots to get into here, I suppose, both positive and negative. Obviously great to hear that Red Dead Redemption might be getting a new lick of paint and, bringing it back to life, perhaps tweaking the controls as well for the modern generation. Always a good thing of an old classic. Elsewhere, though, of course, this mention of GTA 6, I don't know, it sounds like it might be in some sort of development hell a little bit there. And, it's just not gone to plan, which is concerning. But then, at least we're getting these kind of remasters of their back catalogue thrown our way to keep us busy in the meantime. What do you make of it, though, mate?
Well, firstly, I would love to see a Red Dead Redemption remaster because it's a game that I missed, and I have to say Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favourite games of all time. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tabs, part of the map of Red Dead Redemption 2, where you go to eventually, is actually where most of Red Dead Redemption is set. So they actually already have assets that they could use to do a remaster. You know, that world is already fully finished. Obviously, it would need to be altered probably because time has passed. But I think this is very likely. I think this has got slam dunk written all over it for me, and I'm very pleased about that. Little bit disappointed about this GTA 6 thing. I mean, we've been speaking for a number of weeks now, and you may have heard it on previous news if you've tuned in. That, you know, it's been a long time since we've had a new GTA, and we are really looking forward to one. And to hear that it's in development hell, something that we don't hear a lot from when we talk about GTAs, is worrying. Not just for when we might see a GTA, because undoubtedly they will not want to in any way tarnish their brand of GTA by releasing something subpar. I think we might be on a long wait for the next GTA. I find it odd that a person leaving meant they had to effectively restart development. I find that very strange, because why couldn't they just continue with the groundwork that had been laid? So I do find this a little bit strange, but
I think he was a big part, I'm sure I've read, don't quote me, BArcadians, let us know if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he was a big part of like the script work
Agreed.
And the narrative. So
that.
maybe without that, and we've also seen, haven't we, them kind of say in the past that because of its kind of satirical social commentary nature, which we've seen throughout the series, they find that hard to do, and where, you know, the direction to go in depending on what's happening in the modern times. So perhaps there's all that's just been, and obviously they're at game 6, so they don't want to retread old ground too much. They want to do something fresh enough, but it's finding that sweet spot, which no doubt must be difficult because, like, just as you say, mate, they're on such a platform, aren't they? That are such a pedestal in the game industry that if they can't really risk, you know, putting out a bit of a sorry state of a series release, because it could cause major repercussions in their business model.
Absolutely, and to put that into context, I believe that GTA 5 is one of the biggest games of all time, and as an entertainment product, it's one of the biggest, like, financial entities ever throughout, you know, films, TV, all of that. It's grossed the most amount of money. It's obscene amounts of money that GTA 5, and obviously that creates like
pressure.
For as a company, you know, they have to deliver, you know, because they're shareholders, they have to, you know, there's money to be made. They need to make sure that they have expectations of what a game will sell like. So yeah, it's tricky, and I'm worried that we're not going to see GTA for a few years.
It sounds like that, and obviously they're on the coattails of seeing what Halo Infinite have of development hell, Cyberpunk 2077 landing, both, we think, kind of epic scale games being made by hundreds of developers, and GTA 6 is going to be in that same ballpark, and it's lost this kind of lead influential figure. I really just hope they can find a way to get it together, but I'm sure we'll hear more of this story in other outlets as time goes on. But mate, take us on.
Absolutely. So, into an interesting story, a very intriguing story, I would say, and the headline is Take-Two Cancellation. And The Verge had this to say. Nestled in Take-Two Interactive most recent earnings report was information that it was charged $53 million for an unannounced title that has been cancelled. Cost of goods sold included a $50 million impairment charge related to the company's decision not to proceed with further development of an unannounced title in its pipeline, Take-Two said in a press release. The report did not name the title nor the affiliated studio that worked on it. However, according to Bloomberg's report, the cancelled title is from Mafia 3 developer Hangar 13. The California-based developer also released Mafia Definitive Edition in 2020. The Bloomberg report says that according to sources at the studio, the game was codenamed Vault and suffered from a number of setbacks associated with the pandemic and constant shifting development focus. No word yet on if the company will suffer layoffs as a result of the cancellation. I feel like this is a story that no one Take-Two would not have wanted this to come out, because all it does is create intrigue about what the game was. Because if it's a game that everyone would have been really excited to play, then what do you do with that information? If it's a game that everyone was like, oh, I'm not that interested, then obviously they've spent 50 odd million to this point for what would have been disappointment for fans. It's such an interest. There's more to come on this. I'm sure in the weeks to come we're going to hear lots more on this. Someone knows what the game was, and I'm sure it will come out eventually. What do you make of this, Tabs?
Yeah, like you say, I think it has to be a pretty, for a budget of $53 million, It has to be a pretty ambitious project. So it's really interesting. I've seen multiple things though. I've seen one outlet suggest it could be Bully 2. I've seen another outlet suggest it was like a sci-fi Destiny 2 type experience. And then obviously we read here about the fact it was from a developer who released the Mafia. I've no idea. Why
would they can Bully 2? That makes no sense. Like, there's petitions out there to remake Bully and have a second one. Why would they can it? It doesn't make any sense.
I think the wording in this call, obviously, where it came out and was subtly snuck in there somewhere, was something along the lines of the scope of the project got such to the point that they didn't think it was commercially viable anymore. So they'd spent so much money, and that I suppose they'd need to spend so much more money to get to a point that it just wouldn't recoup those costs. So it was better to knock it on the head now, and put that resource into another project.
But then that makes it sound like that it was a project that wasn't likely to hit. So it was a new IP, because you've got to think say Bully, people know Bully. It's really, people love that game. It's got an audience. Go on.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it on the same, footing as a GTA.
No, obviously not. No, and I think
therefore they maybe would have thought, this isn't going well. We've still got a lot of money to spend to get this to a point where it's going to be even sellable. Is this really going to strike? Because it's like with Nintendo, isn't it? A Mario or a Zelda game, they don't mind putting that resource in because they know it's so popular. They'll get that conversion. But with a Metroid game, or I'm trying to think of another Nintendo series that is less popular. You know what I'm saying? You could maybe say Bully fits that bill a bit. So it could be that, but as you say, I think we'll see some probably Jason Schreier Bloomberg expose, which will hopefully shed more light on this.
Absolutely right. I think we've waffled on enough. Let's close this off with everything else and let you guys get on with your evening. So, everything else. First up, we've got delayed eFootball 2022 update. Will finally start fixing glitches this week. Well received, I think that will be.
Yeah, I really hope they can turn that around. Cyberpunk 2077 delays updates to 2022. Indeed,
so no updates for that for the rest of the year, which I'm sure will be disappointing for anybody who was waiting for them. PSVR, PS5 will apparently be backwards compatible with the current PSVR games.
Good news. Animal Crossing 2.0 released a day early, which I managed to crowbar in because my missus is chuffed to pieces about this, and I broke the news this morning as I was scrolling through Twitter, and she was like, her face just lit up. It was funny.
Brilliant. And finally this week, It Takes Two, the game that me and Tabs both loved and enjoyed playing together, is coming to Game Pass. So if you have got Game Pass or you're looking to get Game Pass, that game looks good, get on there and get it done. Right, I think without further ado, that is everything this week. We've covered everything off. We hope you've really enjoyed the show. If you have, definitely drop us a like. It really helps us with the algorithms. If you're new here and you have enjoyed it, subscribe. You can join us for next week's show and shows to come. We're well over 100 shows on this now, so we sort of know what we're doing, hopefully. But I think that's all we've got time for this week. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.